When the first cannon fired on Fort Sumter in April 1861, no one truly believed the war would last. Men spoke of glory, of a swift victory, of returning home by harvest. They were wrong. The war that followed would become the bloodiest conflict ever fought on American soil, a war not of distant enemies, but of brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, and ideals tearing a nation in two. For decades, the United States had lived with a wound it refused to heal: slavery. The Southern states built their wealth on it. The Northern states increasingly condemned it. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860, Southern leaders saw not a man, but a threat to their way of life. One by one, 11 Southern states seceded, forming the Confederate States of America. They claimed they fought for states' rights and independence. The Union claimed it fought to preserve the nation. Both sides claimed God. In the spring of 1861, boys barely old enough to shave put on uniforms that did not yet smell of blood. Union soldiers wore blue, singing of freedom and unity. Confederate soldiers wore gray, marching to defend home and honor. They wrote letters filled with optimism. "This war will be over before Christmas," many wrote. They did not yet know the names Antietam, Gettysburg, Shiloh, or Cold Harbor, names that would later echo like graves. Delusion shattered at the first battle of Bull Run. Soldiers ran not in triumph, but in terror. Civilians who had come to picnic fled in panic as bodies fell around them. Then came Shiloh, where men drowned in mud and blood so thick it turned the river red. Then Antietam, the single bloodiest day in American history. Over 22,000 casualties in one day. Wounded men screamed for water that would never come. Surgeons worked with saws slick with blood, amputating limbs without anesthesia. Fields became cemeteries before the sun set. War was no longer romantic. It was industrial slaughter. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. The war was no longer only about preserving the Union. It became a war to end slavery. Enslaved people fled plantations, following Union armies like a tide of hope. Black men enlisted, forming regiments like the 54th Massachusetts, fighting bravely for a freedom they had never known. Many died without ever tasting it. In July 1863, two massive armies collided at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. For 3 days, muskets cracked without pause, cannon shook the earth. The air filled with smoke, screams, and prayer. On the third day, Confederate General Robert E. Lee ordered pickets charge a desperate assault across open fields against fortified Union lines, then marched into a storm of bullets. Most never reached the enemy. When it was over 50,000 men were dead, wounded, or missing. The Confederacy would never recover. By 1864, the war had hardened. Union General Ulysses S. Grant understood a brutal truth: the South must be broken to be defeated. General William Tecumseh Sherman marched through Georgia, burning railroads, farms, and cities. "War is cruelty," Sherman said, "and you cannot refine it." Civilians suffered, children starved, cities burned. The war spared no one. In April 1865, a starving, exhausted Confederate army was surrounded at Appomattox courthouse. General Lee, dignified even in defeat, surrendered to Grant. There was no celebration, only silence. The war was over. The Civil War left behind over 620,000 dead, millions wounded, widowed, or orphaned, a nation scarred forever. Slavery was abolished. The Union survived, but the hatred, grief, and unanswered questions would linger for generations. The Great War taught a terrible lesson: a nation divided by injustice cannot stand forever. It proved that freedom could be won, but at a terrible price. And it left behind a warning carved in blood: when a country fights itself, no one truly wins.